Hey guys! Welcome back to part 2 of our in-depth Christmas coloring page 2019. In the last video, we kicked off our page by coloring the beautiful garland across the top. Now we went very in-depth, we took our time with it, so if you missed that video, I'm going to leave a card in the corner right now and also a link to it in the description. You might want to start there, and then once you've watched that one, come right back to this one, because today, we're coloring the Christmas tree. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. We are coloring the Christmas tree, the main focal point, the icon of the holiday. So we want to make sure that we put some time, love, and care into this. That's probably my biggest coloring tip of all time. Don't rush, take your time with it, use a bunch of different colors, use small strokes, layer in color and texture. And now all of that takes time. Trust me, it is worth it. So for the first thing that we're going to do on this tree is to start with the lightest color. And I'm not worried about layering this down in too many places, since we're actually going to be layering on top of this in most spots to build up our pigments. So if you think that you practically colored the whole tree with this color, it's not really a big deal, because we're going to be layering right on top of it. So for now, I'm just going to concentrate this in what I'd call kind of the open spaces on our tree. So that's kind of away from the edges and away from all of those spots where those branches overhang, etc. And once that's down, I'm going to focus my efforts with the next color, which for me is this chromium green opaque color, which is actually one of my favorites from the Faber-Castells. And by the way, we are only going to be using Faber-Castells on this whole page, not for any particular reason. I was just kind of too lazy to get out the rest of my pencils. And with this color, we're going to be building around that lightest green color, kind of around it where we didn't put down that lightest green color. And we're also going to be slightly overlapping into that green color using super, super light pressure, again, just to hide those transition lines. And even just using these two colors looks prettier than if you had just used one color. Now we're going to switch to one of our darker greens to start layering in the shadows and those darker areas. Now at this stage, I'm primarily going to be focusing on kind of some little shadows underneath the ornaments and underneath the tree branches, which are actually those tiny little zigzagging lines on the tree. They're not too clear, but that's what those are, just kind of representing some of that branch overlap there. And don't worry about making it perfect at this stage either, because believe it or not, we're about halfway, maybe even less than that halfway point in terms of the steps that we're going to be taking to make this Christmas tree look special. Now, juniper green has a bit of a blue tint to it. So I'm going to be using this color as well, just to build in some additional layers of variation. Since if it's all kind of one tone of green, the tree could start getting, a little boring looking. So an injection of a dark green that has a hint of blue in it might be just what we need. Now we're going to completely put our greens aside altogether. And I'm going to reach for a dark, warm brown color. And the nice thing about layering a brown on top of all of these greens that we've already put down is that it's not really going to read as a true brown. It's going to intermingle with those green layers and create something totally new. A color that will truly add kind of that deepest tone that I'm looking for, that I actually don't have a pencil for. There is no, dark green with some brown in it pencil that I can just use and grab from my box that will give me this color on its own. So with this brown, I'm going to be concentrating just kind of in some thin layers along the edges of our tree, and again, underneath those branches. Now, do you guys prefer a real Christmas tree or a fake Christmas tree? Now, when I was a kid, we always had a real tree, and I have lots of Christmas memories of my mom vacuuming all the time because those little pine needles were always all over the floor, and it drove her absolutely nuts. So to me, Christmas and the sound of the vacuum cleaner are almost synonymous. Now I have a fake pre-lit tree, kind of sold out there, but I kind of love it. I'm not mad about it. It's easy to put up, it's easy to take down, and you don't have to struggle kind of wrapping your Christmas lights all around the tree. Now, the only time when it's a pain is when the lights on your pre-lit tree suddenly stop working for some weird reason. That actually happened to us last year. And actually, it was worse than that. It was only one section of the tree lights that had gone out. It wasn't even the whole thing. And Tony spent a good 2 hours trying to figure out why. And we never did figure it out. I actually just opened a box of kind of supplemental lights and I stuck them on the tree in that spot. And do you know who noticed? No one, nobody, not a single person noticed. And then actually after Christmas that year, I got a brand new tree on clearance shipped right to my house. Best thing ever. Also, don't forget to shade underneath the garland strand. I almost forgot about that. That is going around the tree as well. All of these objects on the tree, the candles, the ornaments, the garland, which just kind of naturally create some shadows. So don't forget about them. Now we'll use a dry Q-tip to blend. And it might not look like it's doing very much, but if you really look at the spots that I've done with the Q-tip versus the spots that I haven't, it's subtle, but I think it makes a really big difference. And the Q-tip doesn't move the pigment around drastically. It just kind of blurs the lines a little bit. So you really don't have to worry about dragging it into any of the areas that you haven't colored yet. All right, this is looking really good. Should we stop here? Is this a good stopping point? It could be. It could totally be a good stopping point. And actually, I was tempted to stop here, but something told me that perhaps we could benefit from some added texture to our tree. Maybe something to kind of simulate the look of pine needles. What do you guys think? So I pulled out my chromium green opaque, which is actually that second color that we used on the tree. So it's a fairly light one. And I began drawing in some really simple, just kind of hatch marks, almost in like an X pattern, just to keep it from looking too busy. You know, I didn't want to draw the lines in kind of all kinds of crazy directions. I wanted to keep it a little bit more streamlined than that. And again, I'm using very light pressure. I wanted to keep it subtle, kind of small texture. And there was definitely a sweet spot while I was coloring this in terms of pencil sharpness. I didn't want the pencil to be too sharp or else it was kind of being a little bit too dark. You know, it was making the lines just a little bit too thin, too dark, too obvious. But then when your pencil got a little bit too dull, the lines started getting a little bit too blurred. So I was really trying to keep it in that sweet spot right in between where I was getting the best outcome. Then I'll finish it off with a Q-tip just to buff out some of those lines that perhaps came out a little bit too sharp from the pencil being too sharp. All right. So to truly say that we've finished coloring the tree, I suppose we should also do the trunk. So let's layer in a few different browns here. And if I'm being honest with myself, I've probably got a little bit too much of a light kind of highlight on the tree trunk, since most of it would be in shadow from all of those tree branches above. But it's kind of boring, so I'm going to leave my highlight in because it's my page. I'm going to do what I want. All right, now we can say that we're done. At least with the tree anyway. What do you guys think? Do you like the texture that I added there at the end, or should I have kind of left it alone before that final step? Do you guys have a preference? I'm still on the fence, but I really do like the final outcome. I really do. If you guys have any strong opinions on that and want to share, leave me a comment down below. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. In our next continuing video on this page, we're going to be coloring the area at the base of the tree. So we'll be doing the little girl, the floor, the duck, the box, that whole area down there. So join me again soon for that. Now, if you guys liked this video, please hit that like button. It really helps out my channel, helps new folks find my videos. Also, consider subscribing if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. Happy coloring! Bye!